This is the SAU Report, a program featuring interviews with the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.
Welcome to this edition of the SAU Report. I'm Dana Thomas.
And I'm Nakita Martin.
With us today is Senator Mike Ross, and he is running for the Democratic candidate for the U.S. House 4th Congressional seat. Thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Dana. Nakita, it's good to be with y'all tonight.
And to start out, what motivated you to run for Congress?
Well, I've had the privilege and the honor to serve the people of this area. In fact, Columbia County, Washita County, Clark County, Nevada County, the people of Magnolia for the past 10 years in the state senate. And I still believe people can get involved in public service and run for the right reasons and make a difference in people's lives. And so that's why 16 and a half months ago I decided to announce my candidacy for the United States Congress from the 4th District.
Discuss how your experience as a state legislator would help you as a member of the House of Representatives.
Well, as a state senator, my job is to consider and introduce and write state laws, state legislation. Really the only difference at the federal level is you're addressing federal issues instead of state issues. So I think it's been a great experience for me to have spent 10 years as a state senator. I chair the Senate Children and Youth Committee. I've passed landmark legislation to reform the Division of Youth Services, which is basically nothing more than a children's prison. But we're making a lot of progress there. And I'm excited about being able to see a place that once warehoused children, if you will, that were in trouble, serve as a means to rehabilitate them and let them get their life together and become productive citizens. And I've dealt with education, I've dealt with economic development, I've dealt with health care, I serve on the Senate Public Health Committee. I've dealt with so many issues. I've worked hard for Southern Arkansas University for funding for this university, and there's so many issues that I've worked on at the state level that I think have really helped prepare me to be your congressman.
Well, I know that you're running against Jay Dickey, and we were just wondering if he has misrepresented any of your accomplishments during this campaign and how.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I regret that it's become so negative. He's personally, I like the guy. I just think he's got his priorities wrong. I don't think he represents our values, the issues that matter to us here in South Arkansas. This campaign has been filled with untruthful, negative attack ads about me and my character, my reputation, and my family, and they're wrong. And I don't know how to explain it other than to say that I believe he's been a congressman for 8 years, and yet we see very little on TV of him talking about what he's done for us. It's all about tearing me down. I think he's clearly hiding behind these untruthful, negative attack ads because he knows he's wrong on the issues important to us in South Arkansas.
What do you believe is Jay Dickey's worst vote as a member of Congress?
That's a tough one. I don't know that there's one. I think there are several. One is we're losing a lot of rural hospitals across America, and especially in the 4th Congressional District. We lost the hospital in my hometown of Prescott in 1995. That is devastating to a community and something that I would never wish on any community or anyone. Congress finally recognized that the cuts they made to Medicare were too severe. Last year, Congress voted to restore $1 billion in funding for our rural hospitals. He didn't even show up for the vote. I think that shows a lack of a commitment to this district and to rural, affordable, accessible health care. There's a lot of other issues that I disagree with him on. I mean, I believe we need to modernize Medicare to include a voluntary but guaranteed prescription drug benefit for every single senior citizen in America. He sided with the big drug manufacturers, which are now spending millions of dollars on ads in support of him in this campaign. So they're rewarding him handsomely. But, I mean, he voted for the plan they supported, a plan simply to allow insurance companies to go out and sell another insurance policy. Senior citizens do not need another insurance policy that they're not eligible for, and one in which they cannot afford. What senior citizens need is for their prescription drugs to be a part of Medicare, something I strongly support. Patient Bill of Rights. He'll say he voted for a patient Bill of Rights, and he did, one written by the insurance industry. I mean, I believe we should hold insurance companies and HMOs accountable when they try to make bad medical decisions in order to cut costs. I think we need to take the medical decisions out of the hands of the insurance company bureaucrats and put them back where they belong, in the hands of the physicians and their patients. I support a patient Bill of Rights because I believe patients should have the freedom to choose their own doctor and hospital.
Well, on the commercials that he has been running against you, has he misrepresented you in any way with like your legislative record?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's had one running. It says I was one of the worst legislators. In '99, I was named one of the best legislators. I mean, who's kidding who here? You know, and again, it's true. In '95, I was named one of the worst. In '99, I was named one of the best. That's the opinion of two liberal reporters in Little Rock. I've never catered to liberal journalists in Little Rock. I have done my best to represent the people that I've served in the state Senate for the past 10 years. And in fact, it's kind of funny to show how silly that rating system is that these journalists use. Nick Wilson, who I called for his resignation, he's now serving time in a federal prison in Florida. Nearly for all those 10 years, he was named one of the best. So it's it's just an example of how he twists the facts, misrepresents the truth, and has really lied about my record. And I'm proud of my record. And you know, my grandfather, this is probably the best way to explain it. My grandfather never went beyond the 3rd grade, but he taught me a lot. And he taught me that those who know you the best trust you the most. And during my 10 years in the state Senate, I've tried to be accessible, return every phone call, answer every letter. And I'm certain that the people I've represented have not agreed with me on every single issue. My wife and I don't agree on every single issue. But I think what's important is back in the primary, with 4 people running, I got over 70% of the vote in Columbia County and surrounding areas. In fact, in southwest Arkansas, 66%. In the runoff, I got something like 80% of the vote. I mean, these are the people that know me. These are the people that know me, trust me. They know the job I've done, and I'm honored that they went to the ballot box and demonstrated with their vote that I have provided them with honest, effective leadership.
What would be your top priorities in Congress if you were elected?
Well, there are several. One we've already mentioned. I'm a small-town family pharmacy owner. A lot of candidates are now talking about the need to include medicine for our seniors as a part of Medicare. This is something I've been talking about for nearly 17 months. I don't just talk about it, I see it, I work with it. I mean, I deal with senior citizens every single day that are literally forced to choose between buying their medicine and buying their groceries. And I live in Prescott, of course, a town of 3,600 people and a couple of traffic lights. Wonderful place. But in a small place like that, you know, you learn a week later where a senior citizen ends up in the hospital running up a $10,000 Medicare bill, or where a diabetic eventually loses a leg. Real life stories from a family pharmacy that my wife and I own. Every one of these instances could have been stopped had our seniors simply been able to afford their medicine or been able to afford to take it properly. This is America, and I think we can do better than that by our senior citizens, and that's why I will fight to modernize Medicare, to include a prescription drug benefit that's voluntary but guaranteed part of Medicare for every single senior citizen in America. Patient Bill of Rights, we've discussed that earlier. I'm very committed to a Patient Bill of Rights. You should have the right to choose your own doctor and hospital and hold your HMO accountable when they make bad medical decisions that affect your health or even your life. Education, we need safer schools, smaller class sizes. I'm the proud son of public school educators. I've got 2 children now growing up in the public schools. Sydney Best in the 6th grade, Alex is in the 3rd. So I feel very strongly about safer schools. I think we need smaller class sizes, especially for kindergarten through the 3rd grade. I believe we've got to provide our teachers with the internet and computer training that they need and want to better prepare our children for the jobs of today and tomorrow. I mean, let's face it, you can't go to work at McDonald's anymore if you do not have some basic computer skills. And I think we need to get back to some of the basics. We need to put respect for teachers and discipline back in the classroom. I mean, these are some of the issues that I feel very strongly about, and these are some of the things that I've talked a lot about in this campaign, and I've listened to people talk to me about them a lot during this campaign.
Well, the balance of the power in the next Congress will be very important. And what priorities would you have if the Democrats become back in Congress?
What priorities would I have?
Yes.
You know, I don't know that it's that important whether we have a, let me tell you what's important to me and what I think is important to seniors and working families is in fact, this is something I've talked a lot about in this campaign, is Congressman Dickey has voted over 90% of the time with the Republican national leadership. I don't think either party represents our values or our issues in South Arkansas 90% of the time. I think the partisan bickering in Washington should stop. I think we need a congressman that will go to Washington and represent the values, the issues important to the people in their everyday lives back home, rather than going to Washington and siding with one party or the other. I'm a Democrat. I'm a South Arkansas Democrat with small town values, and there's issues that I will probably agree with the Republicans on. Obviously, there's issues I'll agree with the Democrats on. But what's important is we need to have a voice in Washington for the people back home, and that's what I want to give them.
If elected, would you act to change campaign financing?
Absolutely. It's been real frustrating in this campaign. There has been more money spent by Congressman Dickey in this campaign than any candidate has ever spent in a race for governor of Arkansas. It sets not only a new record for U.S. Congress, but for governor in the state. Let me just tell you what's frustrating about it is, you know, he'll run an ad saying that Mike Ross takes political action committee money, like there's something wrong with taking legal, authorized contributions from teachers, senior citizen advocacy groups, working families, farmers. I'm honored to have the support of those kind of people. You know, and he's playing games with the people, because the next ad you see on TV is one beating me up, and it's paid for by the Republican national leadership with PAC money. I mean, you know, who's kidding who here? And that ad will say, you know, Mike Ross says he doesn't take contributions from drug manufacturers, but look at what he's taken from the drug industry. He changes the words to the drug industry. He's talking about your hometown pharmacist. Now, I know a few people that say, Mom, I'll be back in a minute. I'm going down to the drug industry. They say they're going down to their hometown pharmacy. And then the next ad that comes on TV is paid for by Citizens for Better Medicare, which sounds like a wonderful group. But it's a group that's created and funded by the drug manufacturers. And they're telling you to go vote for Jay Dickey. I mean, so I'm sure that the people are confused. They should be, because I'm confused and I'm the candidate. I mean, the bottom line is this. There's nothing wrong with taking contributions from political action committees. That represents smaller donations that are pulled together by working families, by senior citizen advocacy groups, by teachers, by farmers. What I have a problem with, and I have made a pledge, that I will support a ban on soft money. He voted against a bipartisan ban on soft money. It was the Shays-Meehan Campaign Finance Reform Bill in '99. Just this year, only 39 members of Congress voted against the most recent Campaign Finance Reform Bill. He was one of them. I mean, I think it's wrong for corporations to be able to spend millions of dollars in attack ads under a hidden name. For example, the drug manufacturers are running all these ads against me under the name of Citizens for Better Medicare, when they really don't even want drugs to be a part of Medicare. So I think that's shameless. I think it's wrong, and I think that's the kind of stuff that needs to stop. I think two candidates ought to battle it out with what funds they can raise from their supporters, and keep the outside monies out of a race. I feel very strongly about the need for campaign finance reform.
Well, I know that President Clinton has been helping you with your funds for running for this office, and I was just wondering if he was going to help you finish out the campaign and, you know, campaign for you before the election.
Well, to hear Congressman Dickey tell it, my campaign's being run from the West Wing. The fact is, my campaign's being run from the old Ford dealership in Prescott, Arkansas, where my parents met many years ago. It's actually where they met, so it's kind of neat to be running my campaign out of there. Mac McClarty grew up in Prescott and Hope, as I did. I'm actually grew up in Prescott and Emmett and finished high school at Hope, and Mac was born in Prescott and finished high school at Hope. And Mac McClarty now has houses in Hope and Washington, D.C. He was kind enough to host a fundraiser for me. It does cost an awful lot to get your message out to 600,000 people, especially in a district this rural. It includes so many television stations. You have Little Rock and Greenville, Mississippi, and Monroe and Shreveport, and KTSS, and there's so many of them, so many cable systems. So it's expensive. And Mac's a longtime personal friend. In fact, my wedding band was bought by my grandfather in 1917 at Mac McClarty's grandfather's drugstore in Prescott. So he was kind enough to do an event for me in Washington. The president did drop by for about an hour or so. I wouldn't say he's helped me raise any money. He dropped by an event for me, and I was honored with that. He is the president of the United States, leader of the free world, and you know, he and I don't agree on every single issue, but he is the president, and I really appreciated him doing that.
What is a typical day of campaigning like?
Well, it varies, but basically it's a very large district. For people not aware of it, it stretches from Texas and Oklahoma to Mississippi. It stretches from DeQueen and Nashville and Murfreesboro and Mount Ida and Hot Springs down to Malvern and over to Sheridan and Pine Bluff and Dumas and everything south of that to Louisiana. So it's a very large 26-county district. It consists of a fourth of the state's population, but it consists of more than a third of the state's counties. So it varies from day to day. Some mornings we leave at 2:30 in the morning and get home at midnight. Some days we leave at 6 or 7 in the morning and get home at 10 or 11. But whatever it takes to get the job done. But my goal has been to do my best to try and get out with the voters and listen to them, talk about their concerns, the issues important to them in their everyday lives, because that, I believe, is what will help me to do my job.
With all the people out there that you're talking to, are you doing anything to increase the amount of voters that come out to support you?
Well, I hope so. I mean, I've told people that I truly believe this election, I mean, I'm running against an incumbent. Only 6 incumbents got defeated out of 435 in 1998. This year, the House race hotline is projecting 9 challengers to win. They have us, as of a few days ago, listed as the second challenger in the country most likely to win. We're excited about that, but the fact is very few incumbents get beat. I truly believe that this election will be won or lost by less than 1,000 votes, which is less than 2 votes per precinct. So people that don't think their vote counts, they're wrong. This is the kind of election that is so close that everyone's vote will count.
Since the race is so close, what will you do if you lose? What will your plans be?
Well, I'm planning on winning. I have no idea. You know, I take one day at a time on the campaign, and, you know, I haven't thought about what I do next when I win or what I do next if we're not successful. I think what's important, and something I've tried to teach my children, and is something that, to me, people in life, I think, fear failure. And you never are able to accomplish a lot in life if you're afraid to fail. So what I've tried to teach my children about this race is that, one, Daddy's going to win, but regardless of whether Daddy wins or not, what's important is that Daddy tried. And I think that's an important lesson for children and for all of us. Don't be afraid of failure.
Well, what is the one overriding message that you would like to address in this campaign?
Probably, other than the ones I've already mentioned, I mean, I talk a lot about modernizing Medicare to include prescription drugs, patient bill of rights, education reform. Another issue I talk a lot about that's very important to me is economic development. I want to be an economic ambassador for the people of this district. South Arkansas continues to lose population. We continue to lose jobs. We need jobs for our kids to be able to come home to when they finish technical college or when they finish high school or when they finish college. I feel very strongly about that. I'm a small business owner. I've got 15 employees. I know what it's like to meet a payroll every Friday. I'm a founding member of an economic development board. I've committed to do something that no congressman from this district's ever done before me. One of my staff members will be a full-time professional economic developer. I think it's important to have someone trained in economic development to travel these 26 counties, meeting with mayors, county judges, chambers of commerce, universities, meeting with community leaders to identify their needs and figure out where they want to go and how they can get there. There are so many low-interest loans and grants available from the federal government that never find their way into these 26 counties. And I want to have someone that's a resource person to help our communities get their house in order and get prepared for the future so that we can maintain the jobs we got and bring new jobs to the area and see South Arkansas stop losing population and start growing new jobs. I'm committed to that.
What is your view on protecting the Second Amendment, and are you a member of the NRA?
Yes, I am. I'm a lifelong member of the NRA. I've had an A voting record with them for my 10 years in the state senate. I've been endorsed by them every time I've run for state senate. I don't think we need more gun laws in this country. I don't think that's the problem. For example, Washington, D.C., handguns are illegal, and yet it was in Washington, D.C. where a handgun was used to gun some people down at a zoo. I mean, marijuana, cocaine are illegal, and yet people that want it can find it. So I don't think more gun laws are the answer. I think we need to enforce the laws we got. I think we need to lock up the criminals.
Do you believe that Jay Dickey has done any good works in the 4th congressional seat?
I think Jay Dickey has done a good job at coming home on weekends. I think he's done a decent job at constituent work. although I think I've done a better job as a state senator in that area, obviously. Where he and I like him as a person. Where we disagree is he's wrong on the issues that matter to us. He's wrong when he sides with the drug manufacturers and votes against modernizing Medicare to include prescription drugs. He's wrong when he votes with the insurance companies and votes against a meaningful patient bill of rights. He's voted against 100,000 new teachers. He's voted against Head Start. He's voted against school lunch programs. The list goes on and on. We need a congressman that will fight day in and day out for our values and for the issues important to us here in South Arkansas.
Do you support vouchers for private school education?
No, I do not. Congressman Dickey does. And this is America. If you want to send your children to private school, I think that's your business. But public schools are struggling enough, and they have a lack of funding already. Don't take funds away from my children and your children in the public schools simply because you want to send your children to private school. I think that is wrong.
Well, in our closing moments, what would you have to say to persuade the undecided voters to vote for you this year?
Wow, how long we have. No, I think, I think my 10 years of service in the state Senate, I've demonstrated that I've been honest, effective. I've worked hard for almost 17 months taking my message of putting families and children first across these 26 counties and trying my best to meet all 600,000 people in this district. And I've talked about the issues that we've been discussing here in this evening. The need to modernize Medicare to include prescription drugs, a patient bill of rights that means something, give you the freedom to choose your own doctor and hospital, safer schools, smaller class sizes, putting respect for teachers and discipline back in the classroom, how I want to be an economic ambassador for the people of this district. These are very important to me, and I think these are issues that are very important to people in their everyday lives. Not just in Magnolia and Columbia County, but all across these 26 counties, and quite frankly, across America. I think that these are issues that I can address and make a difference in people's lives on. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't run. I've got a wonderful family and a good business, and I don't have to have this job. I'm running because I truly believe that I can make a difference, and that I can help people.
What is your overall farm policy?
Foreign policy?
Farm.
Farm policy. At the federal level, we have all these issues. Farm, foreign, I wasn't sure where you were going, but agriculture. My grandfather was a farmer, and I grew up on his farm a lot. I understand farming. The Freedom to Farm bill, Congressman Dickey says was the best thing to ever happen to our farm families, and yet we have fewer farm families today than ever before. I call it freedom to fail. Farmers do not want to be insurance farmers. They don't want to be welfare farmers, but they need a safety net to at least cover the cost of production and to cover give them a fair profit when we have bad weather and when market prices are down. When I was a kid growing up in Prescott and Nevada County and Hope and Hempstead County, in that area we had 21 farm families. Today we have 2. It's so important that we save what farm families we have left, and I'm committed to working with them to doing that.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today, and I hope you have a good run. And
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with y'all, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
The SAU Report is a production of broadcast journalism students in the Department of Theater and Mass Communication at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.